So, you've built yourself a character, either for 5th edition or Tales of the Valiant or another RPG that uses the 5th edition rules kinda as a baseline, and they have a class, they have a subclass, they have a race or a lineage and a heritage, they have a background, maybe even a couple of feats, maybe even a couple of skills that you discussed with your GM that just make sense for your character, all designed to make your character feel unique and truly yours. But then, Kobold Press comes with a system that I personally absolutely love to make the history of your character, in other words your background, truly count throughout the campaign. And they do that with a new system called character threads. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters. Today I want to talk about something that has always been an issue in my GMing or DMing career, all through playing Dungeons & Dragons, Tales of the Valiant and other RPGs. And that is that I never truly know a good way of making people's backstories and backgrounds actually truly matter throughout the campaign. It's something that I've always struggled with. Like in the first few sessions I really have good intentions and I start out the campaign with like, introduce your character and who are you and who were you before you were an adventurer, and people are like all crazy with their backstories and their backgrounds, and in the first few sessions I always try to like bring that stuff in there, but I fully admit that all through like a campaign I kind of lose track of that stuff, especially with like groups of like 4 to 5 players where there's like 4 to 5 different backgrounds, and I just kind of lose track and I'm too focused on the campaign itself, which is something that I never knew I needed tools for to do better. But then I got this book, Campaign Builder, Castle and Towns by Kobold Press on my doorstep. And I have to admit, there is something in here, like, there's something in here called character threads. And I started reading it, and I, as a game master, I as a game master, immediately saw it as something that I personally really needed to read, and that's character threads. Character threads is, I don't know if it's new, there's probably other tabletop RPGs that done something like it, or other books that have some stuff like that in there, but Kobold Press just does it like they do stuff. They do it simple, understandable, fun, and just good. So without further ado, let's take a look at character threads. And here it is, everybody, character threads. Now, Kobold Press does this to me a lot. They drop a book at my doorstep. Well, Kobold Press doesn't, but the mailman drops a book on my doorstep that I completely forgot the existence of. And Campaign Builder, Castle and Crowns is something that I completely forgot that it was actually a thing until it dropped on my doorstep and I was like, oh shit, yeah, that was a thing. I was so focused on Tales of the Valiant that I completely forgot about this one. And then I started reading through this, and I really like a lot of stuff that's in here, but especially the character threads. And it is the first like little bit that they say right here that really got me hooked on this, and I wanted to read more and know more about it. Normally, backgrounds reflect a character's training, what came before they ever began adventuring, and they provide various related bonuses such as proficiencies and equipment. For many characters, though, a background remains an element relegated to their past. It may occasionally impact the campaign, but it mostly serves as important functions of role-playing fodder and thematic color. A character might occasionally use something from their background as an adventurer, but it doesn't build from there. It doesn't evolve. And I completely 100% agree with this. Now, I know there's game masters out there who are really good with people's backgrounds, who really use that kind of stuff in their game to make a background really like work in a campaign, and they often tell their players like, hey, just a reminder, you have this background, you have this thing you can use right now if you want, and then the players are like, oh yeah, shit, I've been a soldier, I was a soldier in a previous life, so I can go up to the soldiers and talk with them in an easier manner because I know how to address other soldiers, that kind of stuff. I absolutely suck at that. I have a lot of talents as a game master, and I consider myself an above average game master, but that is one of the things that I need to work on quite a lot, and character threads really helps with that. So I just want to go quickly over what it is, kind of, and the thing is, what I like about it is a set of guidelines and rules, but it's also open-ended at the same time. So a character thread basically is something that goes off of your background, and a player decides on a goal for their character, right? So, for example, so they decide on a goal for their character, and then they work with the game master to set a few milestones. There's a little table here to help you out. You can have a least milestone, a lesser milestone, a greater milestone, and a superior milestone. Every time they reach that milestone, they can get a benefit, and you work with the game master before the campaign even starts, like a session 0 or whatever. You worked with the game master in order to come up with what you need to do to get what, right? So you really know as a player, like, I have my personal little vendetta going on. And you try to work on a way where it's open-ended, but it also doesn't really interfere with the campaign, because nobody likes a player who wants to, like, do their personal quest line while they're doing, like, right? It's up to the game master to kind of like weave that into the adventures. And that's basically it. So they go up to like level 20 for like the superior milestone, and you get a bunch of stuff from that. So they give an example, because it's in the beginning it was like, wait, what are we going for? They give an example, and then they even give like some pre-written ones, but you can come up with your own. The whole idea of it is to kind of come up with your own. So a sample milestone progression. Variety Higglesworth, a court folk heritage small folk, so a halfling, begins her career with the courtier background and the royal champion threat. So she chose the royal champion here from the threats, right? Variety's player chooses a goal. I must defeat the Grey Knight who slew my monarch. That's her goal. There's a Grey Knight who killed her monarch. So working with the game master, the player determines that this threat should only go up to level 10. Or thereabouts, because after that, the campaign might shift away from the area where the Grey Knight operates. They create 4 milestones that can lead Variety to the, or Variety, I think that sounds really cool, Variety to that final confrontation with her foe, plus benefits for each of those milestones. So, they come up with 4 milestones. First milestone is uncover the identity of the Grey Knight. It's a least milestone, and it is Variety player. Uncover the identity of the Grey Knight. Right, that is the least milestone, and when they do that, when the character does that, they gain a proficiency in the investigation skill. That's what they get from that. If they're already proficient in investigation skill, they can work with the GM to have another skill that they could become proficient in for reaching that goal. Then the second goal is, again, a least goal, because they only go up to level 10 for this one. So they have 2 least goals. Defeat an important minion of the Grey Knight, right? So if she does that, she unlocks a charm usable once a day. Great. Then there is a lesser milestone. Find the magic needed to bypass the Knight's armor. You gain a +1 weapon made of special material. Then the last one, defeat the Grey Knight, which is a lesser, because they only go up to level 10 again. Gain a favor from a new or the new monarch, right? This progression assumes 10 levels arc, but threats can be as long as short as a GM wishes. Shorter range goals merely require fewer milestones. And that is the basic idea of this. And I really, really like the open-endedness of this, but also something hidden in here, kinda, is that this also gives enough to the GM to come up with something, right? Because this is like, the player is like, there's a Grey Knight who killed my monarch. Okay, and then splitting this up in steps really gives the game master good ideas to build a kind of like a story on that, right? So, okay, you need to uncover the identity. So the game master knows, like, I like a secret identity. I need a minion, like an agent of the Grey Knight, whatever. I need a magic item that can bypass the Knight's armor, and then I need a stat block for the Grey Knight itself in order, and like maybe even like a place where they reside, stuff like that. So it gives the tools to the player to know, like, in their downtime, for example, in the city, they can really be like, I spend my downtime researching the Grey Knight, or or looking for that one minion that should be in the town here somewhere. Doesn't interfere with the campaign at all, but at the same time, it's thematically correct for the campaign, for players, characters to do that in their downtime. And at the same time, it gives the GM enough tools to build a story around that. It gives them like checkpoints for a story, basically. And oftentimes when you build a story, when I do adventure writing, and a lot of people when they do adventure writing, they build a story by first making like a list of the checkpoints, like this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and then filling that in. So it's kind of like reverse engineering, and this kind of also does that, right? So they come up with a few character traits in this book. I think there is 9 character traits. They say it right here. There's the ambassador, there is the court artist, there is the court wizard, there is the courtier. That's what they talked about. There is illegitimate. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that. Impoverished noble. That's cool. A minister. So there's a few here. Let's just look at one, because it's also, if you pick one from the book and don't build your own one, it's also quite open-ended. So a court artist, for example, driven by creativity and passion, court artists labor for years to perfect their craft, delighting the wealthy and powerful with their visions of the world as seen through the medium of their art. Now they stand in a respected position in the court of their patron. As a court artist, your renown can spread far and wide, causing some of the view. Blah, 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 blah. So you roll a d6. And you determine your goal, or you come up with your own goal, right? So let's roll a d6. Let's just roll a d6. I don't have a d6, so that's just making art is enjoyable, but I intend to use it to accumulate a massive fortune. That's cool. So it's a really simple one, because you want a massive fortune. You really can have like goals, lesser, minor goals, like 100 gold pieces, 1,000 gold pieces, 10,000 gold pieces, 100,000 gold pieces, something like that. I don't know, depending on your world you're playing and the worth of a gold piece, right? So, and then they talk about least milestone feature, lesser milestone feature, greater milestone feature, superior milestone feature, but they don't talk about what that milestone should be. You as a game master and a player work together for like summarizing those milestones, but they give you ideas on what you can get as a bonus for completing that milestone. So for example, artistic focus. So the first milestone, if you acquire 10 gold pieces with your art, you gain proficiency in a perform skill, and with your choice of either a musical instrument or a set of tools. Double your proficiency bonus for any ability check you make that uses that instrument or that set of tools. If you, let's just like skip to the greater milestone, if you amass 100,000 gold pieces with your art, and again, this can be done in downtime, right? You can create art pieces, like maybe you're a wood carver and you make like these little wooden statues and you sell them for like 1 gold piece pop. I don't know, right? You make this, you can do this during short and long rests, right? And then in your downtime in a city, you just tell your GM, I want to set up shop somewhere on a cool, you roll a check to see what a good place is where a lot of tourists might come and pick up one of your things. And if you amass 100,000 gold pieces with that, you can leverage your towering reputation in order to influence others. As an action, you can attempt to influence a humanoid. You can see within 30 feet. The targets must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you for the first hour until you are champion to do anything harmful to it. The charmed creature regards you as a celebrity and is eager to accommodate your reasonable request. While the charmed creature won't break the law for you, it will bend it. When the effect ends, the creature is immune to your advantageous reputation for 7 days, but doesn't bear any ill will towards you if your interaction with it was peaceful. Once you use this feature, you can't use it until you finish a long rest. That is what the threats are. And basically, they are backgrounds and then some, right? So they are backgrounds, but it doesn't stop there. And that is, again, the thing with backgrounds for me is always like it's a background, they become an adventure, and they completely lose track of their background. And I've always hated that, but I also never really knew how to fix it, if that makes any sense. But character threats really does that for me. So if you're interested in it or anything that is in Campaign Builders, Castle and Crowns, there is an affiliate link for this book. I get a couple of bucks if you buy this through the link in the description below. Just saying, if you want to support me, please do that. And until next video, bye-bye.